Okay, so now we are good to go. We can start.
All right. A very warm good evening to one and all. I, Simran, on behalf of the entire BSK Legals team, welcomed you all to the today's webinar on topic 75 Years of Parliamentary Democracy, Achievements and Challenges. We are extremely thankful to each one of you attending the session today for taking time off your busy schedules and choosing to be a part of today's session. Please note that a recorded version of this webinar will always be available on the YouTube channel where it is being live streamed, which is called Spreading Legal Awareness with Sanjay K. Chadha. This YouTube channel, under the guidance of Mr. Sanjay K. Chadha, has a plethora of legal knowledge to offer in the form of TV news interviews, dedicated webinars, and many other forms, which can benefit not only the law students, but also the teachers, academicians, lawyers, and even a layman. So therefore, you always have the option of getting back to it in the future. Also, we would love to hear from you. So in case of any question or query, kindly put it in the live chat section and we will try our best to get your questions cleared. Moving on, I find immense pleasure in introducing our luminary speakers. Our honorable speakers for today is Mr. Syed Shahnawaz Hussain, Member of Parliament and ex-Cabinet Minister, Dr. Amar Patnaik, who's also the Member of Parliament and former Accountant General of India, Dr. Vipin K. Malhotra, Head of the Department of Political Science at Sri Aurobindo College, Delhi, and last but not the least, Mr. Sanjay K. Chadha, Advocate at Supreme Court of India and Managing Partner at BSK Legal. We wholeheartedly welcome and thank you, Shahnawaz sir, Amar sir, Vipin sir, and Sanjay sir for blessing us and gracing all of us with your benevolent and gracious presence. There couldn't have been better speakers to take us through the remarkable 75 years of parliamentary democracy. Now, before moving further, I would now like to apprise my audience with a brief about our charismatic speakers. However, I find it difficult that there is apparently anybody who's unknown of their exemplary work. So starting with Shahnawaz sir, born on December 12, 1968, Shahnawaz sir was first elected to the 13th Lok Sabha in 1999 from Kishanganj constituency in Bihar at a young age of 30 and was appointed Minister of State and held various portfolios such as food processing industries, youth affairs, and sports and human resource development at different times. The same year, the then Prime Minister, Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee, inducted him as a Union Minister of State and allotted him the food processing industries portfolio and was also given an independent charge of the Ministry of Coal in 2001 and was elevated to the rank of a cabinet minister with civil aviation portfolio in September 2001, thereby becoming the youngest cabinet minister ever in the history of independent India. Later, he held the textile portfolio as cabinet minister from 2003 to 2004. He is often referred to as the original youth leader. Sir became an MP for the second time by winning a Lok Sabha by-poll in 2006 from Bhagalpur, followed by 2009 Lok Sabha election again from Bhagalpur. On 21st January 2001, he was elected to Bihar Legislative Council, and on 9th February 2021, Sir was inducted as a cabinet minister under the ministry of Sri 𝐒𝐚𝐧𝐣𝐚𝐲. It is an honor to have you here with us, sir. Moving on, our next guest is Dr. Amar Patnaik. Sir is an Indian politician and public intellectual. He was an Indian Audit and Account Service Officer and former Principal Accountant General of Sikkim, Odisha, West Bengal, and Kerala under the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. Dr. Amar Patnaik joined the Biju Janata Dal, a regional party in the state of Odisha, in August 2018 and was inducted by the Chief Minister and Party President, Mr. Naveen Patnaik. He was also made head of the party's IT cell upon joining the party. In June 2019, Sir was nominated by the party as the state representative and member of parliament in Rajya Sabha. In his first year in parliament, he was appointed member to parliamentary committees on Department-related Parliamentary Standing Committee on Finance, Joint Parliamentary Committee on Personal Data Protection Bill, Committee on Subordinate Legislation, Rajya Sabha, and an ad hoc member of the Committee of the Rajya Sabha to study the alarming issue of pornography on social media and its effect on children and society as a whole. In the Parliament, Sir has raised several key issues, including budget allocation to health, right to information, infrastructure, railways, law and order, finance, transgenders, and women's safety. Dr. Patnaik was also an early voice in the Parliament on the threat of COVID before the imposition of the national lockdown in India. Once again, we are truly honored to have you here amongst us, sir. I would now request my co-speaker Harnoor to kindly take on the session and give a brief introduction about Vipin sir.
Thank you, Simran. We also have with us Dr. 𝐕𝐵𝐚 K. Malhotra, who is a professor in the Department of Pol Science at Sri Aurobindo College, Delhi University. Sir is an international scholar in foreign policy, human rights, and disability studies. And Sir is also the honorary director of research and publication at BSK Legal. Dr. 𝐕𝐵𝐚 K. Malhotra has pursued his LLM and PhD and has also received the Media Award in Innovation Education 2017. Sir is also the Joint Secretary of the National Association for the Blind, Delhi, and is an executive member of the Society for Child Development. Sir is a frequented resource person on family law, human rights, Indian politics, and disability laws, and has also contributed several articles on law and politics in national and international journals. Sir, it is a great pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you.
Meanwhile, I could see our dear Dr. Amar Patnaik ji in the screen. He's there. Warm welcome from the side of our team, and we have just completed your introduction by our beloved daughter Simran has just mentioned about it. We were discussing about it. So warm welcome once again to you, sir. And Simran, you can continue, please. I think Harnoor. Yeah. 𝐕𝐵𝐚, you want to say something, please?
Welcome, sir. Our honorable MP is the, he is an inspiring figure for us, and his achievements are matchless. Especially comes from the state of Odisha, and he has lots of responsibility. And the state of Odisha is one of the government, which has stability and showed the parliamentary democracy a right path to the whole country. So
thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for these generous words. Namaskar.
And the best part is that today we have with us a lot of students from Odisha. I could see, many of them are there. And in this room also we have 2, 3. I would like, Upasana is there, Upasana Mohanty. She has joined us from Bhubaneswar, and many others. I'm not going to name them. Certainly, she is very dear to me, and so that's why I thought I must introduce her to you also. I think we should continue our program. Otherwise, Harnoor is next?
Simran Pahuja, I request you to kindly provide Sir's introduction.
Thank you so much, Simran. Now, I would like to introduce the person behind the webinar, the person who has worked, coordinated, and tirelessly administered throughout the success of this webinar. None other than our very only and beloved Sanjay sir. Mr. Sanjay K. Chadha is a learned advocate and founding and managing partner in litigation, arbitration compliance group, mainly labor law compliance at renowned firm BSK Legal. His spheres of activity diversely focuses on criminal arbitration, labor employment laws, insurance law, and many other fields. Sir has got a distinction to act as an arbitrator for over 200 cases. Sir has also acted as a mediator, resolving disputes between various parties. He regularly contributes his views and ideologies to various news and print media. Therefore, he's one of the renowned and established face of media journals and channels. All his videos regarding webinars and interviews are present on his YouTube channel, spreading legal awareness to Sanjay K. Chadha, which is a great source of knowledge to all individuals and especially law students. Under his supervision, administration, and 26 years of experience in the legal firm at present, the firm BSK Legal is successfully handling all kinds of cases in all over 614 districts of the country. Not only this, Sanjay sir, with the objective of spreading legal awareness among youth, has time and again arranged plethora of webinars like area issues, challenges and solutions, unification of labor law, first-hand experience, webinar on insurance law, contempt of court, and many more. And today's webinar is nonetheless, sir, in order to impart the dynamics of law as an objective, is popularly known among law students for his numerous internship programs. Sir has always been a source of empowerment for his fellow citizens by simplifying the complexity of law and modeling in a manner to be easily persuaded and understood by all. He is a lawyer for cause in true sense. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Simran. Once again, from core of my heart, I welcome Dr. Amar Patnaik, who's my elder brother also. He was a senior in our college, and he has always done wonderful work all over, and he's doing remarkable work. We see him almost every day on various television channels as well, and that is one thing. I really welcome you, sir. I also get this as an opportunity for me, Professor Dr. 𝐕𝐵𝐴 K. Malhotra, who is, I say it that knowledge ke bhandar agar koi hai, so that is my dear Professor Dr. 𝐕𝐵𝐴 K. Malhotra. He is doing wonderful work and a great political scientist of this country, I must say. As far as today's topic is concerned, I can only say from the point of view of lawyer, because I'll not take much of time because two honorable speakers are very much here. Third, we are waiting. He will join, and we all are really waiting to hear you. But what I want to say as a lawyer, we are the, I think, instrumentality. We are the most important instrument as far as the Parliament is concerned. For them, they make law, and we get it enforced. We see that it reaches the right people. It reaches the society for which law is being made. It reaches the needies for which the Parliament makes laws. So we all lawyers have been serving, and I say this, that India, which is, we have adopted the Constitution, which is the most important document based upon which we are making laws, and anything which is ultra virus to the Constitution is not tenable, and we follow the system of checks and balances. I could see Dr. Amar Patnaik has just written Jai Jagannath, so that is always there. We begin with this, Jai Jagannath is always one which gives you a lot of strength. I have seen it personally also. And so it is a very, very important topic. And what in these 75 years, what we have achieved and what exactly is lacking, that's what we want to see. And we, being the biggest democracy of the world, we have a rather responsibility also that our parliamentary system should do something which is abided, which has been followed by the entire world. And I feel sometimes very proud that personalities, people like Dr. Amar Patnaik is there. And sometimes, I repeat a word by one of my friends in some webinar. He has said, and brother, send me a message that after listening to Dr. Patnaik, it looks, and we feel very, calm and very happy that the country is in good hands. Because we have seen, the image of politicians and all those things. I don't want to go into that. So we have a lot of expectations, lot of each and every person, each and every citizen of this country wants people like him to reach there. That is one aspect I just touched. So it is a very, very important subject as a law student, because you are the one who are going to be there tomorrow. If I talk about the law students, because we have a lot of law students joining this webinar, and on the other hand, the practicing lawyers, academicians, and judicial officers, they are also there, and we feel that yes, it is the need of the hour. We need to have a strong political system, strong parliamentary system. Number one. Number two, what we have achieved, it is the stage has come that important 75 years have gone. What up till today we need to look back and see what we have achieved so far. So I think without wasting much of the time, I would request before Dr. Amar, I would request Vipinji for 5 minutes, just give us a background, because I know because Amarji has a lined up program. I think 7 o'clock he has some program with Harvard University or so where he has to speak. I think, if I might be wrong also, I couldn't recollect. He told me that there is a program, so that is there. So Vipinji, just 5 minutes introduction. Thereafter, we would love to hear you also, because you are the one very important, you are having a very important place in the society today. You are the political scientist. You have to tell us what is best for us. Thank you very much.
We get together here to celebrate the World Parliament Day, and Parliament has been a long serving the aspiration of people in different country or across the world. It is one of the most, accepted democratic political system in the world. Majority of the countries have embraced this political system, and it is not that the parliamentary system was born in United Kingdom after the Magna Carta, but parliamentary system was embedded in the spirit of people of South Asia, especially India, which has imbibed the spirit of tolerance across the centuries. If ancient period was an era of monarchy, or Middle Ages were era of monarchy, then modern era is of democracy and parliamentary system. And parliamentary system has created an environment amongst the people where we, the people of India, give to ourselves a sovereign, secular, socialist, democratic republic to get justice across the country for people in terms of social, economic, and political. And it is the checkered history of India which speaks that after even 70 years of parliamentary system, or 75, going to be 75 years of independence, the people have embraced this culture very fast. But UK has not been able to achieve, or other countries have not been able to achieve in centuries. It is since 900 years when British Parliament came into existence. And what we have done in 70 years, and that is the beauty of the system. And but only thing is, what I could see that where Parliament has to do more, that it has to give more and more participations to youngsters. Mostly, parliamentary system is suffering from gerontocracy, and women folks are also missing. We never had a parliament where we had 20% participation of women. So that is a distressed part of parliamentary system, that youngsters who are the linchpin of any society now. India is one of the most young country, having more than 66% population, which is less than 30 years, is not properly represented in the parliament. We have around 48%, 49% women of the total population. We have not given them adequate representation. So that is one thing, and Dr. Aman Patnaik would agree with me here that something has to be done. But having said that, it is not fair that discussion should be carried on empty glass only. The discussion has to be carried on. Whatever we have achieved is really is really a marvel for the world, that Indian political system, barring few months of emergency, has proved that even 1/6 of the population in a country could be governed with democracy, where people could say that the government is for the people, of the people, and by the people. So, we have our, esteemed parliamentarians who will show us the path, and there will be an ample opportunity which we will have to have more discussion on this. And Mr. Shahnawaz Hussain, who happens to be one of the youngest parliamentarian, as Smriti said did. And this is an achievement, and this is another beauty, that people who belong to the marginalized section and below poverty line, not only poorer section, below poverty line, have reached to this temple. So this is the beauty, that, but a discussion has to be a balanced discussion, what we have been able to achieve, and what are the challenges before us in the parliamentary democracy system, because there is a new era which is knocking at the door, and the political decision-making process will long, affect the future of the people, and where technological intervention is fast changing the life of the people, and where, the kind of new bio-warfare in terms of pandemics, is changing the life of people. So the politicians of this country, the legislators, have to be very careful while making the law. Just like, for the example, if you lock down the country, then it is going to affect whole of the economy. People are rendered unemployed. But if you open the country for all business transactions, then immediately you start losing life. So you have to be very careful, and you have to learn to, make laws which will actually mitigate the sufferings of the people in the new era, the technology era, where one could be defamed immediately without any rhyme or reason on any social platform, which is watched by millions. So what kind of laws you want to make? And if you get stringent about the platforms, you make stringent laws, then you chalk down the democracy. Then the freedom of speech, the freedom of expression, which our constitution has given, is violated. But at the same time, you have to be very careful that no innocent person is defamed also in few seconds. So this is a challenge before the parliamentarians, where bio-warfare is there, where technology is fast changing the life of the people, and the employment rate, unemployment rate is fast growing. We have the lowest employment rate now since last 20 years. That is a major concern for our population. And how these legislators are going to tackle these problems, I think we can have discussion on that. And while celebrating this parliamentary day, whether our parliament will be doing the needful, how it is competent, because you have seen various acrimonious debates and sometimes filibustering, sometimes disruption of parliament, that government is made handicapped in, enacting laws for years and years. Just you see, the passing of triple talaq law has, mitigated the sufferings of several women in this country. Within a stroke of pen, with the stroke of a pen, just women have been liberated from this personal law. So this is just an example. So I will not take much time, as our revered friend, he is, one of the best lawyer of this country. Not only best lawyer, there may be so many good lawyers, rated lawyers, but one of the best human being, as I know, ready to help everybody anywhere. Even if I have seen him when I went to his house, a client who below poverty line was calling him, and he was in bathroom, taking bath, and there was some problem with him, and he immediately, picked up his call. No lawyer is going to pick calls like this, but he is very touchy and very, very concerned. If someone is in problem, if I pick up the call, generally lawyer don't pick up the call even. They take the case and they don't pick up the call. But, people like him, and it is the contribution of lawyers in the checkered history of India's parliament. As you all know, Lord Macaulay wanted to just create a stream of clerks in India, but somehow there was a miscarriage in that education system. This was startling that just a stream of lawyers also surfaced in India, and that stream of lawyers, that battery of lawyers, created a problem for the Britishers. The Britishers, who had one of the largest empire in the history of the world, had to leave this country within, 90 years. Within 90 years. And it is the lawyers who have taken this freedom struggle to people. I don't want to name. You all know that all the nationalists who fought for India in the freedom struggles had some way associated themselves with law. So with this, I once again, welcome our Honorable MP, Mr. Amar Patnaik ji, and our beloved friend. It is not my only his beloved friend, he is a darling to all people across the country who watch his YouTube channel, who watch him on televisions, who watch in every discussion on different state, social platforms with love and affection, Mr. Sanjay Chadha ji, and I am very much thankful to our budding, lawyers team who helped in organizing this program, and I also, welcome our, intelligentsia audience who are very keenly hearing this program on different platforms like YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, etc. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Vipin ji. It is really an honor to have you, and we will not, allow you to go. You remain here. We have a lot of questions we want to ask you today on the subject. But before that, for which everybody is waiting since last more than half an hour, I would request our honorable guest today in the evening, Dr. Amar Patnaik ji, to please, share, the information and the knowledge with all of us. Thank you very much. It is your meeting now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sanjay ji, and thank you so much, Dr. Vipin Malhotra. I feel honored, extremely privileged to have been invited to this webinar by my good friend Sanjay Chadha ji. He is, as Dr. Malhotra said, is a wonderful human being more than anything else, and that's what is in the shortage actually in the current times. So I think a big cheers to him. May Lord Jagannath keep him and all of you keep hearty, healthy, and out of problems during these challenging times. I'm also equally happy to see so many young children, young boys and girls, lawyers, all of you, or most of you rather, who are here in this webinar. And as very rightly pointed out by Dr. Malhotra, that this freedom that we got, the freedom movement was spearheaded by none other than, all of us agree, Gandhi, who himself was basically a lawyer. And then, of course, there are a number of other people who worked behind the scene, who worked on the ground, on the side by side, shoulder to shoulder with Mahatma to give us the independence and then also, of course, the constitution. But today's topic, which is 75 years of independence, which is what probably we are going to reach next year. What are the achievements and challenges? You know, this is a huge subject itself. A country of 1.3 billion and 75 years of democracy, direct democracy, representational democracy, parliamentary form of democracy, the largest democracy in the world, where the change of power has taken place without a whimper, despite so-called authoritarian regime of, let's say, Indira Gandhi, emergency days. There has never been any question, any doubt about transfer of power from one government to the other, which is a tribute to our democracy. You saw what happened when the transfer of power was to happen in the United States not long ago. So it's a tribute to our democracy. We should all compliment. Now, let me begin by saying that, as Dr. Malhotra had also mentioned, that how do we assess our democracy, what we have achieved and what we have not achieved? What is the framework? What is the metric? I thought about it quite a bit. I could actually think about several metrics, but the best thing would be, and which would probably be not questioned by anybody, is the Constitution of India, the preamble. In fact, if it is we, the people, have given us the preamble, and therefore it is we, the people of India, that we have placed our expectations from our democracy, whatever is mentioned in the preamble. So before I get into each of these aspects, I want to harp on this point, singularly flag this point, that we, the people, means the entire constitutional democracy that we gave unto ourselves. The people were at the center. The people decided. So I think the most important question that we have to decide after 75 years of independence is whether people continue to be at the center of this democracy. Of course, democracy is of the people, by the people, for the people, as it said, but that's more of an utopian conception because of what I'll describe later about inequalities, impoverishments, asymmetries. I will be discussing several of these points. But I'll start once again by saying that when we assess our democracy after 75 years, whether all the organs of the government, you know that the organs of the government like the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary, they're all creations of this constitution. The constitution is the supreme law. As lawyers, you would all know that it is the supreme law. And it is the people of India who have made this law and given it to themselves to enforce. So it is the people who have decided, they decide everything about how this country wants to run, whether people are supreme. Now, this is the point. If we keep that in mind, I think anytime we take a decision in this country, whether by the executive or by the legislature or by the judiciary, things would become clear. Any interpretation of law that the courts have to do, or any interpretation or any discussion or debate on the act or any bill that is introduced in the Parliament or any implementation that the executive has to do of a particular scheme, they have to remember that it is the people who are supreme. So I say that people are the principle. People are the principle in this entire scheme of things. I use the word principle very deliberately because those who have had economics background would know there is something called as the principal-agent problem. Principal-agent problem. So principal-agent problem is typical of any company or any economic unit where the principal wants something to be done. It has its own goals and aspirations. It appoints agents. The agents are exercising or executing whatever the principal has delineated for them. Now, whether the agent is actually exercising the way or implementing things the way the principal wants or not would determine how far the principal is able to meet its objectives. So similar here, the people of India are the principal. And who are the agents? The agents are the representatives of people. The members of parliament or the MLAs or the ministers, the permanent executive, they are the agents of the people. They comprise the legislature. So legislature is basically an agent of the people. It is the executive, which is the bureaucracy, which implements. So they are appointed by these agents. So they also act as sub-agents. Now, when the hierarchy is so long, there is bound to be information asymmetry. Again, I'm using a term in economics. There is bound to be some kind of an information asymmetry. And this information asymmetry creates or results in transactional loss. Transactional loss between what the principal want, what the people want, and what they are delivered, what they are given. And therefore, we have this constitution to say that people want this. What is it they want? They want justice, they want liberty, they want equality, they want fraternity. The preamble mentions this in clear terms. So at 75 years, we have to examine whether as agents of the people, the agents of the people, as I said, are representatives of people, the members of parliament, the legislature itself, whether the executive, which is the sub-agent, which is executing programs, whether they, and the judiciary, which is also an agent of the people, they have served the people. They have served the people to give them justice, to give them liberty, to give them equality, to give them fraternity. I think this is the metric that I'm going to follow. And that makes it very pregnant. The preamble itself, as you know, that any interpretation of the constitution or constitutional provisions, articles, ultimately has to meet, the test would be to meet this, the interpretation of the preamble itself. Now, if I start with, you know, when we got independence 75 years ago, 74 years ago, there were issues relating to roti, kapda, or makan. And why roti nahi tha, kapda nahi tha, makan nahi tha. So that's the framework. Whether we have got roti, whether we have got kapda, whether we have got makan. Now that question, this particular aspect would be covered under some kind of economic justice. We have got roti, that is, food is now there. We were importing food. We didn't have self-sufficiency in food. Currently, we have not only self-sufficient in food, we are in a position to export our paddy, our wheat. We have surplus. We don't have a situation of scarcity of food anywhere. We have, as you would have seen, we have managed the pandemic, only at the health front. There are countries in the African continent which are fighting this pandemic not only at the health front but also at the food security front. People don't have food to eat. So that's what we must say. We must give credit to ourselves that 75 years of independence, and you would know that it is our agriculture which sustained whatever little economic growth that we have had during the last two financial years, that is, despite the COVID-induced lockdowns. So we have the roti, we have the food security, we have the clothes, we have kapda. Now, I think that we can say that it is not the situation 75 years ago when people didn't have sufficient clothes to even wear. So having met the, the economic requirement, the questions that come is that as far as justice is concerned, whether we have achieved justice in social terms. When I say justice in social terms, I would include whether we have been able to shed the 5,000-year-old abominable practice of caste system. We haven't. We can debate and discuss whether the ill effects of a caste-ridden society has taken its toll on our political freedom, economic freedom, and liberty. Because you must remember that the most important, or I consider it as the biggest ill of Indian democracy, as Western theoreticians and Western philosophers would look at, is the caste system. And despite laws, regulations, rules, our pronouncements that, and our constitutional principles saying that nothing should be, there will be no discrimination based on caste, creed, or religion, we continue to practice caste system in most part of India. And this unwritten enforcement of the caste system by the society itself has resulted in the principal agent problem being accentuated. The fruits of democracy, the fruits of economic development get cornered by a particular caste in some village in India, what is called as elite capture. When we make policies in government at the center, in a country of 1.3 billion, we practice what is called as one-size-fits-all policy or strategy. And it has been proved beyond doubt that such policies, kind of monolithic, all-encompassing policies don't work. And this is where the difference comes, that you prescribe a policy, but the way it gets implemented in every village is different. And the dynamics that affects the implementation is one of the important factors is the caste system. So whereas we have been able to, there could be debates that we have been able to reduce the impact of the caste system in large measure compared to what it was in 1975. But there would be proponents or there would be critics who would say that we haven't really traversed much if we see the incidents of what happened in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar in the last couple of years. So I think as far as social justice is concerned, it is something that we have to be concerned about. It is a challenge to the democracy and it's a challenge to our people of India. It is a challenge to all of us how to ensure social justice given this age-old tradition of the caste system. Remember what Mahatma said. Mahatma did everything possible to banish this concept of caste system. He failed. All of us have failed so far. Now let's come to economic justice. Now when we talk about economic justice, we have traversed quite a bit. What was the size of our budget in 1947 or 1950, and what is the size of our budget, national and state budgets? It would be at least 40 times or 50 times. The per capita income, I have not made the calculation of Indians would have grown, not necessarily as much as they would have wanted, or not as much as countries who have grown, or who have got independence at the same time have grown. But we have grown. We have been able to give food for all. We have been able to give at least shelter, and in large measure, and we have been able to give clothing, as I said. We have achieved double-digit growth at some point of time. I'm saying that, you know, I'm not picking up particular periods of time. I'm just trying to say that we have grown economically. There's no doubt about it. The size of our GDP has grown. But the point is, I give you an example. In a house of 5 people, in a household of 5 people, if each member of the house produces goods worth 2 rupees for which he gets 2 rupees, then the house has GDP of 2 into 5, 10 rupees. The GDP of the house is 10 rupees. Look at the alternative. One member of the house manages to work somewhere, produces goods and services worth 10 rupees himself. The others don't get a job. The GDP of the household is still 10 rupees. What is the kind of growth that you want? But this is what is one challenge that we are grappling with. We will continue to grapple with. Currently, we figure a few notches above China in the Gini coefficient index, which is an indicator of inequality in society in terms of economic wealth. It is this inequity, it is this economic injustice to a people who are unable to generate wealth at the bottom of the pyramid and continue to look up to the gratis that is given to them by the government or by those people who produce, manufacture, is a matter of concern. This kind of, in fact, I personally consider, this is very close to my heart, inequity in any form, inequity in any sphere, social, economic, political, cultural, gender, opportunity, skill. That's what my book is. Information asymmetry, power asymmetry and institutional change and power asymmetry in the context of rural India. That's the name of my book. That's what my PhD is. Where I explore that these inequities perpetuate some of the existing power equations and may be accentuated. You would have seen that during these lockdowns, the rich have grown richer. The Reliance has made money. The richest companies have made money. The rich have got richer, but the poor have got poorer. And mind you, this is the pandemic of the future. This is the pandemic that the country, India as a country, will be facing for generations to come till we address this issue. This will cause civil strife. This will cause problems in the political, social, and economic fabric of this country. And therefore, we say economic justice, we haven't achieved what the Constitution, what the preamble we had given to ourselves. Now, what about political justice? Political justice, yes, we have given universal adult suffrage. We have any person can, after a certain age, can contest an election, can become an MP, can become an MLA, can become a representative of people. But what is there in practice? What is the kind of polity? What is the kind of elections that we have? What is the kind of money and muscle that is spent in the elections? And that's what we have to address. And that, I think, we haven't really succeeded too much. But while saying so, I'm conscious of the fact that after the reforms in the electoral system, which is happening over a continuous period of time, I think things have got better. So it's not a criticism. I'm saying it's an assessment of what we have done in 75 years. We have failed in certain places. We have succeeded in several places. We changed in 1992 an economic model that gave us growth, that increased the size of the cake, and people were brought out of poverty. About 20% of India got out of poverty because of the growth in economic growth that we achieved. It's a different question whether that was the best model, whether that was inclusive or not. Now let us come to liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship. Once again, provided in the Constitution, the judiciary has steadfastly supported this. It has declared privacy as a fundamental right. It has upheld human rights of every Indian citizen. But the point is, there are stresses, there are frictions at every door or every state. Now, there are frictions which are there. They are manifestation of power equations. It is not just in the Indian democracy this has happened or is happening. It is happening in several democracies. The beauty of our system is the people do not tolerate this. The people of India do not tolerate this. They steadfastly remain committed to liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship. And one of the organs of the government, whether it is the executive, whether it is the legislature, whether it is the judiciary or the constitutional authorities, if one fails, the other has somehow managed to restore that. I do not want to get into details because of the paucity of time, but whenever the executive has failed, the judiciary has come in. Whenever the executive has failed, the legislature has come in. Whenever that is what is the beauty of the constitutional mechanism that we had, that one of the organs would at least defend the Constitution, because the purpose of all the three organs is to defend the Constitution. Then if we come to equality of status and opportunity and to promote among them all. So if this equality of status and opportunity, I once again come down to this, that equality of status and opportunity has intrinsically or is intrinsically linked to this equity issue. The opportunity that is available, the status that is available is dependent on several factors. Like once again, as I said, the caste that you belong, the education that you have had, the place you are staying, the access to health services that you have, several things. So we have managed to traverse this far in increasing our literacy level to a new high. Every 10 years when we do the census, we have more people who are literate, and therefore they are conscious of their opportunities and what is it that they can achieve. But as Professor Vipin Malhotra talked about, the digital divide. When we are talking about the opportunities that all the Indians in times like this, or even during normal times, we have to think about the digital divide. The tele-density, the internet density, the internet accessibility in rural India is almost half of what is there in urban India. So do they have equal access to education? Do they have equal access to opportunities? But it is better than what it was 75 years ago, when you used to call telephones and you wouldn't probably even be able to get connected up for about 5 days. So we have moved, but we can't say that we are a complete democracy, complete in everything. We have achieved everything that was enshrined in our preamble. We have moved far, but we have not really reached the end. As they say, the woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep. And all of us have promises to keep. We have promises to keep to the Constitution, to the people of India, because they are the principles. But besides all this, the most important thing is the last one, which is promoting fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. We have to assess whether We have promoted brotherhood. We have remained united. We have been mindful of the integrity of the nation. I would say a resounding yes. There have been attempts made by political parties or communal forces, all kinds of, or even external forces trying to divide this country, trying to divide people. But I must give credit to the resilience of the Indians, the resilience of this people of this biggest democracy, that they have remained united despite all kinds of stresses and frictions. And this is a tribute to the people of India. The fraternity that they have showed in times of stress, the kind of nationalism that they have shown in times of foreign invasions or attempts to change or to trample on the territorial integrity of the country has been enormous. Irrespective of caste, creed, religion, the people of India have come together to defend the territorial integrity, sovereignty of this country. And that's a tribute to the people of India. The tribute to the Constitution, tribute to all the institutions that have worked. But are we going to be satisfied? The answer is no, because the price of freedom is very high. Eternal vigilance is the price of liberty, someone said. Eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. We have to be vigilant all the time. If we want to protect our liberty, if we want to protect our rights, if we want to protect our sovereignty, if we want to protect our democracy. So it is bounden duty of each one of us here, in you and me together, Mr. Sanjay Chadha and Dr. Vipin Malhotra together included, that we have to all work very hard to protect our democracy, which we have taken for granted. We as a generation have not seen the kind of turmoil, the kind of personal sacrifices we've made by our founding fathers, as he said, for 90 and 100 years to give us this freedom. It didn't come so easily. To defend it and to be aware of it, to protect it is our duty. And that is not going to be there just because we can't just wish that it is there all the time. We have to make concerted effort to maintain that. We have to make concerted effort to answer to the principles that we as agents, whoever are serving them, are able to reduce the gap between their aspirations and between what we provide. As we move forward, these would be our goals. Our goals would be to remove inequity, to remove, to give the best of healthcare, to give best of education, to remove access, to remove problems of access to the digital world, to remove problems of access to social, economic, and political infrastructure that each one of Indians have a right to get and right to be benefited by. In the end, I would say that our country's progress, development has been remarkable. No doubt, the whole world looks up to Indian democracy. But we could have actually done much better had we taken care of some of these challenges. If 50% of India is young, less than 25 years, or more than 50% is less than 25 years, it is the bounden duty of this group of people who will take this country forward. And I agree fully with Dr. Malhotra when he says that these are the people who should be shouldering the responsibility of implementing this preamble of the Constitution of India by having increased presence in the executive, in the legislature, in the judiciary. I am equally aware of the fact that even though gender doesn't find mention in this preamble, gender is an issue which is ingrained in social justice, in equality of status. It is one important aspect. Just for the sake of record, let me tell you that women labor force participation in India is one of the lowest. It is even lower than Bangladesh, lower than Sri Lanka, lower than Pakistan. And this is where I say we have to really move forward. This is again a challenge. This is a challenge. We have to get the informal workers into the formal system so that they get all the benefit. And we have to get women. We have to remove the motherhood penalty. We have to get women into the labor force. And only then the ideals that is enshrined in this preamble can also be met to a large measure. So thank you so much. It's a pleasure speaking to you all. I do not know whether I took too much time. Thank you so much.
No, you were very, very concise. And, you know, this topic is such a wide topic. And, you know, as you said that we should eye for equity, liberty, all those, these smaller, facets like equity, if I talk about, equity itself, it's in its own term is so wide.
Absolutely.
So equity of, you know, I can speak on equity for, in getting the justice, if we talk about, because I'm a lawyer, I will talk about that only. That itself is such a big and mammoth subject that I think, but certainly you have in a very cogent manner has presented it. We are very thankful, and there are a lot of students who are here. They have certain questions from you as well as from Dr. 𝐕𝐵𝐴𝐺 Malhotra. So we'll begin with you because I know you have another program lined up. So a few questions we take with your permission, please. I would request Vedant or who has the questions, please go ahead.
Definitely, sir. So my first question is from Pratham, who is also an intern here. Pratham has asked, as we are the largest democracy and celebrating 75 years of democracy, I feel that in a democracy, opposition is equally important as ruling party to keep checks and balances. And in today's scenario, even we don't have strong opposition, what are your views of this particular statement?
Right. So my answer to that will be twofold, at two levels rather. First question is the opposition. When we were mentioning, you were talking about the opposition, it is the opposition in the parliament, in the legislature. Now, opposition in the parliament legislature is one level where the presence of an opposition would ensure an elaborate debate before passing of a bill. The government or the ruling party will not be able to sail through. The opposition, I also strongly hold the view that the numbers on the opposition do not really matter. Airing of the views is important. How powerful 3 members could also be more, despite the size of, let's say, 100 people who are not speaking. But my answer to this question at the other level is the opposition in the parliament is not what delivers the principle that is the citizens of this country, their democracy or whatever is their aspirations. They're only a small fraction. The people of this country are being served not just by the parliament, they are being served by everyone. So if there is a single member who goes to the Supreme Court in a PIL against an executive maladministration or malfeasance, I think that is also the beauty of the system. That is the opposition that we should not lose. And if we must remember this is the biggest issue that I always keep preaching everywhere, that if there is a malaise in our system, it is we the people who are responsible. It is we the people who give brute majority to one particular party. It is we the people who decide or who select a group of people to be our agents, and those agents later on create the information asymmetry in such a manner that we don't get served by them. We do not get the service, or our aspirations are not met by them. The questions that had there been a stronger opposition in the parliament, there may have been attempts to get this aspirations met, to reduce this information asymmetry. If you look at it in terms, the main job of the opposition is to reduce this information asymmetry. It keeps on bringing out things which the ruling party would not like to speak. But I am very clear that if we have to succeed as a democracy, if we are succeeding as a country, it is not just because of the opposition within the parliament, but it is also opposition outside the parliament. If there is a differing view, and there is another organ of government which is able to protect that view, which is able to ask questions to another organ, the executive, as to why something has happened, I think that is what is the beauty of our democracy, and that is what has sustained this democracy. We have never had questions where a political party or an organization refuses to implement an order of the court. It doesn't happen. But you see that what was happening in the United States when Trump was losing elections, he was browbeating the judiciary. We haven't come to that level. Whatever the judiciary says in India still gets implemented. So I think it is very important to nurture this opposition outside the parliament. Parliament is only one of the organs, one of the structures given in the constitution. If there is one election commissioner, an institute and a constitutional body which is able to create even that opposition, I think that is also done. That also is serving our people of the country and serving the constitution. So we should not lose that single man who could be the opposition. Unfortunately, in 1.3 billion people, we still have such people.
That was very precise and
rightly said, sir. Sir, my co-intern Simran has some questions personally written by her to ask you. If I would like Simran to take over from now, then I would come back.
Thank you, Vedant, and thank you, sir, for your answer. I have certain questions that I've picked up from the live chat section, and due to the paucity of time, I'll stick to a few questions. The first one is, a person is asking, India has been called as a federal country with a centralizing tendency. Over 75 years of independence, how do you now see the federal structure in India? As in, is it still confrontational, competitive, or cooperative, or has any other form of federalism has come into existence?
We took a conscious decision. We took a conscious decision of the Constitution says that India, Union of States. So the unitary character of the Indian democracy is already ingrained in the Constitution. By the way, you will never find the word federal somewhere in the Constitution. It's the Union of States. But the federal nature is derived from the fact, which is a basic structure, that the states are allowed to operate completely freely in the state list. The center is allowed to operate in the central list of items and in the concurrent list and the residuary list. Now, even though the powers to exercise jurisdiction and decision-making as per these lists is available with the states as separate from the center, the problem, the financial resources required to exercise those powers or those decisions within that jurisdiction is, however, tilted too much in favor of the central government, because most of the taxes are collected by the center and then devolved to the states. Now, if the size of the cake, which is the taxes collected, is entirely devolved to the states, then who will look after our army? Who will look after our defense? Who will look after the central subjects? So the Constitution has made the beautiful arrangement of having the Finance Commission every 5 years. They'll recommend how much money has to go to the states, how much money has to go to the center. If the size of the cake keeps on increasing, the taxes keep on coming more, everyone will get more. But what has happened over a period of time is taking advantage of certain provision, which is Article 280, I think, which says that certain cess and surcharge can be imposed by the center, which is not to be distributed with the states. Now, this cess and surcharge has allowed the center to impose an exclusive cess and surcharge that's on petrol, on coal, and this money is not shared with the states. This quantum, therefore, is taken out from this total kitty which is collected for earmarked for the center and then distributed to the states. The result is that if the cess and surcharge would be more, then the size of the shareable pool, as they call, would be less. And this is what has happened. Over the period of last 10 years, all central governments have imposed more cess and surcharge so as to increase the size of their kitty rather than the kitty of the states, with the result that the center has become more powerful. Because if you do not give the money, irrespective of the number of items you have in the list, cannot be implemented. So the friction that is happening now between the center and states is invariably on this, that you give us more money so that we can meet the people's aspirations, people's needs. We cannot also have a situation where each state is asked to raise its own resources, because then there will be states who can't raise any resources, in which case, who will look after them? So I think we have the system right. We have to be mindful of the fact that India cannot grow without the states, and the states should also be mindful of the fact that irrespective of the growth that they achieve, the sovereignty, territorial integrity of the country is ensured only by the central government. So both the things are important. Currently, I would say there is too much of centralization. A mature democracy, a mature government should actually be believing in development of both center and the states for the country to grow as a whole.
Thank you so much, sir. Very well explained. I remember while you were delivering your speech, there was one of the pointer that was caste system that you touched upon. Pertaining to that, there's one more question that have come up. How can castism, regionalism, or communalism pose a threat to parliamentary democracy? Could you please explain by citing some of the events in the past, if possible?
So we have all seen that, when tickets are distributed by political parties on caste considerations, because the vote belongs to a particular caste. So the winning chance of winning is only if you have a candidate from that caste. Then what happens to the other caste in that electorate? So the people who are elected on these considerations come to the parliament or to the legislature are morally bound to espouse the cause of that particular caste, naturally, because they are the representative. And that is where the problem starts. I believe that once an elected representative wins, he is no more representative of only that percentage of people who have voted for him. He is representative of all the people who have not voted for him too, the total electorate. A chief minister may win with, or a prime minister may win with 37, a party may win with 37% of votes, because it is the first who goes first before after the first reaches the post, who is the first who reaches the post. But the problem is he cannot exclude the rest of the people who did not vote for him. I remember, and this I must tell you from my personal experience, that the moment we won the 2019 elections, Honorable Chief Minister of Odisha said to all of us who were there listening to, he was happy, he was exalted that he was winning for the 5th time. The people had reposed confidence. He had said that I am not the Chief Minister of Biju Janata Dal, I am the Chief Minister of 4.5 crore Odias. Now that's the kind of politics that we need to have, and that's the kind of politicians we need to have in this country.
And certainly I would add to it that it is the spirit of democracy. You know, as you just correctly mentioned, 36%, 37% votes. If you see it, the majority comes from 50 only, 50%. But no, that is what is the true spirit of democracy, that once I'm elected, rather, I remember, sometime a very important leader has said that I will work first for those who has opposed me, so that tomorrow nobody is there to put a finger that, look, it is because I didn't voted for me, he has not done this work for our community or our people. So that should be the spirit. If even there are people he knows that this group of people were opposing me, that person, the parliamentarian, should work for them first, because it has to be, that creates a great base for the vibrant democracy. That's what I feel. Yeah, Simran. I think we have to have the permission of Dr. Patnaik, who, up till when he wants to stay here. Then I am very, very, eagerly waiting for Dr. Vipin to reply a few questions. So, but because Dr. Patnaik has to go, so I would like to ask him, can we take few more questions, or what is there?
Okay. Let me have one more question.
Yeah. Let us have one more question from Dr. Patnaik, and thereafter we come back to Dr. Malhotra.
Of course, if there are other questions, you can direct it to me,
yes.
my email, or the best is to post it on my Twitter handle and DM me, and I will to you.
That would be wonderful. That
Amar for Odisha, Amar number for Odisha @ Amar number for Odisha. So if you put it on the Twitter and DM me, I would try to get you an answer. My team will be also there. I generally answer all questions.
That is wonderful. Another quality of yours, we must say. Yes, Simran, anything else?
Thank you, Amar sir. I would now request Idhant to kindly ask the next set of questions.
Yes, sir. So my next question is by Ujjwal. Discuss how successful was parliamentary democracy during the Modi period, and can we call a parliamentary democracy a success? When normal bills are brought up in the form of money bill, there is almost no discussion over a bill before passing it. Even a hard copy is not given to the MPs and MLAs beforehand, and lockdown saw instances where the houses were active when the government had passed bills, and also discuss how abrogating Article 370 was constitutional in the parliamentary form.
And I would like to add one more thing. How, this agricultural laws, 3 laws were passed, and by, what was the urgency that first the ordinance came and then, so what is your views on that in total?
No, so I would not comment on political lines, because what you are saying now is not the first time it happened in Parliament, because whenever you have a majority of this kind that the government enjoys now, even before when people had 400 seats. I think a similar kind of situation had been created in the parliament. The best situation is to debate. The food bill, let us say, the agricultural laws. Now, what was the urgency? That, of course, the parliament can't decide. The urgency can be decided by the government itself. The parliament has no business. Parliament is to pass the law or reject the law. Now, in the case of the agricultural law, for example, my party, I spoke against, we said that it should go to the select committee because we think that the small and marginal farmers would be affected by this. There is nobody to ensure that they get a level playing field. There are others who, other party, who decided not to speak, rather create a disturbance, and they left the house or were expelled from the house. But the bill got passed. Now, I still feel, my personal view is that a parliament floor is a place to debate and discuss. Now, your debate, your points of debate and discussion may not get accepted because you don't have the majority. But that's what the parliamentary system is. It is only after 5 years that the people will judge whether your points were stronger or the ruling party's points were stronger. But to disrupt the house, disrupt the proceedings, not allow a debate to happen, I think is not acceptable, because that's what I don't think the people of the country sent their representatives to the parliament for. And by doing so, what happens is the bill still gets passed. It's just that your point of view doesn't get recorded. And that is what happened in the agricultural bill, because I think the Congress, the TMC and all these people, they could not even manage to speak. Where it is a larger responsibility party to ensure that the parliament runs, it is equally the responsibility of the opposition to make it run, make it function. The questions relating to bills not being given, bills not, the hard copy not being given, and all these things aren't whatever you mentioned. I never said, or we, all of us would agree, that in our parliamentary system, not only here in India, also in the United Kingdom or in the United States, anywhere, there would be incidents which the country or the parliament would not be proud of. We would not be taking those incidents to belittle the other things that happens. It is this parliament in India which passed, as Professor was saying, passed the triple talaq. Now, some people were against it. So the majority point of view reigned supreme on that day, and rightly so. That's the parliamentary democracy. And on top of that, if a bill is ultra vires the basic grains of constitution, people can go to the court of law. There have been several cases in which the court of law has struck down some portions of the law or the entire law itself. So I think the system is good. Whatever you are mentioning may not necessarily be the best of traditions, but the ingrained principle is to have debate and discussion. And giving time for the bill so that MPs can discuss, MPs can debate. Yes, there are rules of business. The discussion in the House is decided, unfortunately, as to what you think. The discussion on any bill, the time allotted, who will speak when, all is decided at the beginning of the day by the Business Advisory Council, a Business Advisory Committee, comprising of the floor leaders of all parties. And very often you would find that a decision which has been taken in the Business Advisory Committee is not, I'm repeating the word, not observed by the same party which had said something else in the BSC. So several factors are responsible. But the point is the country wants, I think, that the Parliament should run full time, that given the time allotted, there should be no disruption, there should be debate and discussion, and may the better debate win. If the better debate wins by pure brute majority, so be it, the country will decide.
We would, while listening to you, one thought came to my mind that we would request, on behalf of all the young generation, because you have got vast experience, and I want you to sometime take out time and address us as to what is the procedure of the Parliament when they pass the law, how they take all that thing, how they take important views of people who are from the field, what exactly is there, and the practical aspects. So we would be taking up some time. I would request you to give us that viewpoint also.
Sure. I just spoke about the budgetary process in Parliament to
Yes.
Indian civil service people just yesterday or day before. This
Okay.
is by the Parliament itself for all India offices.
Exactly. That's how. Just give us how the law is made first, and what is the process, how it one by one, some suggestions. As we have seen, so many committees are being found. All that, please, next time take out time. And
Sure.
thank you very much. And
so I'll end. I think thank you for the opportunity, but I would make an appeal to all of you. And that appeal is, I keep making this appeal. It is from the core of my heart. Very often, even we educated people who have had the best of education and information, there is no asymmetry. We say that the government didn't do this, the government didn't do that. Why should, what is the government? Who is the government? It is we, the government. It is we who have made this government. Government is ours. If government did not give money, it is not that the government is a tree which is making money and it is going to give you money. I told you the money. It is, if the government didn't give us the money for a particular thing, and if it has to give the money, then we will give it through increased taxes. So this ownership over government, ownership over activities, ownership over constitution, ownership over democracy, ownership over parliament, over judiciary, that has to come to the people of India. I see those glimpses. I saw those glimpses in great measure or in increased measure in states like Kerala, in states like Sikkim. And I don't see that in many states whose names I will not take. In large part of India. This lack of ownership, it is my government, it is my asset, it is my tax, nobody is doing a favor to me. Now that is the spirit that I want all of you to carry with you, to inculcate with you. Because that can happen only if you think for 15 minutes about this country and think about 1 hour, how do you bring some change in the country? Because it is your government. If we are electing a government, it is our vote. The government is not getting money from anywhere, it is our taxes. If the government is giving some money to the poorer people who cannot eke out a living from our money, we would have done it ourselves, because it is, we also look after our poor. And we have only appointed the government as an agent. We are the principal. Now that ownership has to come. And until you see how Americans say, I am a taxpayer, and therefore I think that this should be done. He has a pride in that. That ownership. Now, because the percentage of taxpayers is very less, that could be a reason why we are not having this ownership. But our democracy and the beauty of our democracy cannot be served or cannot be protected unless we develop this ownership. So my appeal to all of you would be to develop this ownership over your government. Don't say or don't throw it to government or our government or your party are, it is ours. Now that is the spirit. If you take that ownership, things will change.
And
thank you so
more
much.
so, it is more required when we all are educated who are here.
Absolutely.
Like,
Absolutely.
I mean, at least graduates are there. So
Absolutely.
it is more of our responsibility because
spend a little time thinking about the country every day.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Amarji, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so
And
much.
further to continue, I would request
Honorable MP Dr. Amar Patnaik. You are not just a typical member of parliament. You are an enlightened soul, I would say, and who has tried to, unjumble the various questions which are embedded in the mind of people, that whether this democracy is merely a number game, whether this parliament is supreme, whether there is a supremacy of law. And you have raised very pertinent question that yes, parliament is supreme, but not supreme. It is merely to protect the sovereignty of the people. It is the people who are sovereign. And law is not the supreme, law is made for the supreme people. And it's a very, that law is not only a due procedure. Law has not to only follow the due procedure of law. It has to follow the due process of law. That law is, null and void, which is arbitrary, which is not following the principles of equity and good consciousness. And it's proved when 𝐒𝐚𝐧𝐼𝐚 versus Union of India, the Supreme Court established the supremacy of parliament, but it was, challenged in the Keshav Bharti case, wherein, this, there were put reasonable restrictions even on the parliament in the law-making process. So it's really, I'm really startled to know that how a politician could blend in himself a great academic consciousness. So it's really honorable, to have a people like you for this fruitful discussion. And even I believe that there are so many parliamentarians who have enlightened our, people on several issues. And there had been great discussions in the parliament in the checkered history of more than 70 years.
Thank you, Dr. Malhotra. Thank you so much. Hope to meet you sometime. आपसे कभी मुलाकात हो जाएगा.
हाँ, बिल्कुल sir.
And
let the scenario be little more, let it be good. Then we will certainly be meeting.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Patnaik. So, Simran, I would like now you to please ask the few questions which are there from Dr. Malhotra. Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Sure, sir. So I will continue with the asking of questions. So Vipin, sir, the first question is, could you share some insights as to the role of judiciary in parliamentary democracy in India? Sir, I request you to kindly turn your mic on.
Dr. Vipin, yeah.
As I, at the outset, Mr. Sanjay Chadha said that parliamentary democracy is a separation of power with checks and balances. And the role of judiciary has been immense in protecting the Constitution of India. As I earlier pointed out in few lines, that no organ of this government, whether it is legislature, whether it is executive, and even judiciary itself, should be given, naked power or brazen power to rule the constitution. So, the tyranny of any, organ of the government is going to put the whole democratic system in jeopardy. And as I said that, in the case of Golaknath versus State of Punjab and then Union of India, the supremacy of Parliament and legislature was established. But somehow this fear was sensed by the judiciary, and in 𝐾𝐸𝐺 case, 𝐾𝐸𝐺 Bharati case, even Parliament was not given a naked and absolute power to amend the basic structure of this constitution. And even the 44th amendment of the Indian Constitution, which is 42nd and 44th put together, they are called the mini constitution of India. The 44th amendment says that if you want to change the basic structure of the constitution, then you have to go back to the people. It is not, Parliament is not entitled to change the basic constitution. Yes, it can certainly amend the constitution, and this has been amended. And even Supreme Court has also helped the Parliament in amending the constitution, but somehow there are so many laws which have been declared null and void by the Supreme Court. So Supreme Court has been a bulwark, which has protected the Constitution of India and even people of India through various public interest litigations. So yes, I feel that judiciary has to play a larger role in just like now our honorable MP Amar Patnaik ji told that if you don't believe that this law is proper, this law has to be opposed, you can go always to Supreme Court. And it is not good that every time you take law in your hand and create a movement. Yes, movement is also important part of democracy, but at the same time, who gets disturbed? It is the only people who get disturbed by these kinds of, by just blocking the roads, by, there are so many other ways you can protest now, through social platforms, through, organizing dharnas at relevant places, not blocking or constructing, barriers on the roads.
We have
creating
the judiciary has passed various judgments in past 1 decade where they have earmarked places where people can go and lodge their protest and demonstrations. So earmarked places are now designed all across the country. Like in Delhi, we have Jantar Mantar, we have Buradi ground. In Bombay, we have the Chhatrapati Shivaji's, this thing is their ground. Similarly, at other places also now, as per the mandate of Supreme Court, the places are dedicated. That this is the earmarked place where where any kind of agitation can take place. That's what I just wanted to add, Vipinji. You have to unmute first. Yeah, thank you.
I want to highlight another Supreme Court judgment, important judgment, on which Sanjay Chadha ji has done elaborate discussions. That is right to privacy. Supreme Court has given a strong verdict against the legislature about this. That Aadhaar card should be mandatory for even getting mobiles or something like that. So,
everything is gone, even bank accounts.
Bank account. So this is not a fair thing for anybody. And right to privacy has been well protected by. And there is another law which, archaic laws. Judiciary has protected Indian people against archaic laws against adultery. Adultery now cannot be a criminal offense, maybe a civil offense in case of matrimony. So, these things are very important, that judiciary is certainly keeping a watch over the parliament.
Certainly. And that is why we see we are governed by the system of checks and balances. That is what is very relevant, and that what makes our country unique in its own term. All the, if in case judiciary is not working, in case executive is not working, in case legislature is somewhere lacking, the judiciary has all rights. We have seen, sexual harassment at workplace, wherein Supreme Court gave the guideline in Vishaka case, and consequently Parliament had to pass the law. We have also seen the cases certainly where judiciary has given a judgment, the courts passed a judgment, the legislature has passed another law wherein they came up overruling the Supreme Court's judgment. We all know that whatever Supreme Court says is the law of the land. So they had to come and as per the aspirations of the people, they passed the law accordingly. Like there was a judgment in which very recently, about 1.5 years back, wherein the Supreme Court has said that, look, the ST-SC community, there are cases where there is a misuse of power, misuse of the provision which is there. The Supreme Court said so. And Supreme Court has given a smaller, I would say, they added a caveat to it that prior to filing a FIR, there is a chance, you have to do the preliminary inquiry, investigation, to which this was what Supreme Court said. Then the Parliament had to pass a law on that to overcome, I would say, the what interpretation Supreme Court gave. Similarly, so that is what, if in case there is a pollution, executive is not working, again judiciary comes and pass a structure and ask them to pass a law, or particular action is to be taken. I remember, Vipin ji, you will be appreciating this very well, that during the last decade of the last century, 1990s, we have seen how much pollution was there. Then the Parliament, then Supreme Court jumped into and said that we need to have shifting of the industry from Delhi. We need to have compulsory CNG for at least public transport, and so on and so forth. And we are also well aware that there was lot of opposition to these bigger moves, because a lot of buses went off the road, a lot of taxis went off the road because of this. But what judiciary said, because it was in the benefit of the nation per se, number one, and benefit of the citizens of this country, it was abided by after little impediments which I just mentioned. So that is what I wanted to say. That is what Vipinji was saying, that we are governed by the systems of checks and balances. If somebody has done something, or has omitted to do, he is not doing, the body is not doing something, we can come up. And various methodologies are developed, like instrument of PIL is there, wherein a single individual, public spirited individual, can go and ask the government to do something. So Simran, or anybody else has any questions? And I think it is a great opportunity for all of us that Dr. Vipin K. Malhotra is with us. So I would request you to please, if you have some queries, questions from him.
Sure. So I have a few questions.
Please do ask.
So my first question is regarding the accountability of the executive in a parliamentarian democratic setup.
Vipinji, there is a question from you.
Okay, Yes, parliamentary democracy means itself that it is a system wherein you have power with responsibility, because it amalgamates, there is a fusion of legislature and executive. Ministers are appointed from the parliament itself. It is not like, the presidential system where president is the head of the executive there. But in our case, prime minister is the head of the government and president is the head of the state. And this fusion of power and responsibility makes you collectively responsible in executive. If any bill in the parliament cannot be passed and it fails to achieve the requisite number, then, a no confidence motion can be brought against the government. And government, in the case of financial bill, can itself becomes, redundant. So, importance of executive, as I said, that in the case of India, that has been a paradox that executive has to be every time given instructions by the judiciary. And over the years, we had overactive judiciary, which is also not a good thing, because lawmaking process rests with the legislature. It is the responsibility of the legislature, and it is not the responsibility of the judiciary to make laws. Only judiciary is responsible for dealing with the complaints and see that the constitutional system is working well. As you know, the writ of mandamus has been there to make the executive responsible to carry out the legislative mandate. Whatever laws is passed has to be implemented by the executive. And apart from that, we have directive principles of the state policy, which are the guiding principles, even if law is not there, which are the guiding principles for the governance of India. So that you must understand that it is not only fundamental rights, it is not only writs of the Constitution, writs given in the Article 32 and 226 of the Indian Constitution, which makes the executive responsible, but our directive principles also makes the government responsible. And apart from if I say in political terms, the party's manifestos are also responsible for fulfilling the aspiration of the people. Whosoever party comes into power, if it promises, yes, the particular people should be given this kind of benefit, they should be given. But at the same time, I would say that the over-populist, manifestos can seriously damage the whole fabric of the country. Just like you are giving laptops and no one is using that, you are giving so many things in free, because the parties will not be giving anything free from their own kitty. It is the hard and earned money of the taxpayers, which will be, given to people. So, these kind of false promises are rendering the executive disabled also. And, because while you come to the power, you also know that you cannot fulfill all the, promises you give in the manifestos. So this is the parliamentary system where we need lots of discussion, and that parties should be making their manifestos in a very responsible manner.
But we see that there is no, lack of accountability is one of the reasons why these manifestos are not, made in the way you just mentioned. I think lack of accountability, transparency is one of the reasons.
Yes, there is hardly any project in India which is finished in a time-bound manner. But now I think due to this technological intervention and e-governance, lots of transparency has come, and there is strong complaint mechanism. And Chadha-ji would disagree with me on this ground that he has been trying to, register our journal for the last 2 months, but no website is working, no
Nothing is working.
responded, and despite making several phone calls, we have not been able to, due to this corona period or whatever, since we are not able to go to that office physically, this even e-governance is not working.
Very aptly you have put in what was what we just faced few months, few days back. So that's very nice of you, Vipinji. Anything else you want to ask, Vedant?
So there's one last question given by Vishal.
From your side, it is the last question. Please go ahead.
So this was regarding the population policy, the national population policy implemented by the center at this point. So the national population policy states that there should be a scheme of 2 children per family. But on the other hand, there has been another policy given by Assam and Mizoram, which states that the parents with the most children will be awarded 1 lakh. So what is this dispute between the center state? What's your view on this particular aspect?
Yes, you have raised a very pertinent, question. The very opening line of India says that we, the people of India. Yes, how many people of India we want? We want to be 2 billion or 1 million, 1 billion. That is a matter of debate. That we, the people of India, how many people we can live in this country? Because when we got independence, the population of India was around, I think around 2.8 crore of divided India, and and this has swelled to more than five times, and there is a crunch of resources, and our legislature had to be responsible. Only during the emergency they tried to control the population, but that too in a very vulgar manner, I would say. That is not the right thing, but the legislature has not given a proper, I would say, call to this problem of India. We don't have resources. We have people who are living below poverty line, more than 25% people. And definition of poverty line is also a very, challengeable definition, wherein you have only person who is earning more than 32 rupees, 60 rupees should be put under poverty line. So that is the thing, and Assam has done very well. But only thing is, by just punishing the people, saying that they will not get the government subsidy if you procreate 2 people, is also a matter of debate, that whether you want to, because I think people who have a family of 6, 7, 10 people, they need more subsidy than person who are having 2 children. People who are having 2 children, merely need subsidy because they are generally well off, and it is the poor people who have more children, not the rich people. You have rich people who have only 1 child, 2 child, or no child at all. It is rare that any rich person or affluent family or educated family has, so more than putting, stringent laws, I think there has to be conscious, there has to be increase in the consciousness of people. People should be made aware of this. And yes, at the parliamentary level, at the legislative level, you can put embargo that this person cannot be a legislator. He cannot be a panch, sarpanch, or he cannot be a he cannot be a municipal commissioner. He cannot be a member of legislative assembly. He cannot be a parliamentarian. He cannot hold any political post if he produces more than 2 children. So that is one aspect, I think. And just putting that they will not be benefited through subsidy, that is itself questionable, because it is only the ignorant and poor people who have more children. And yes, they can be, there can be several more aspects which we can discuss at length, which I may not highlight at this time, and we can have a separate webinar on this.
I would like to tell it to everybody, and Vipinji, especially to you. 12th of July is the World Population Day, and on that day we are organizing a full day seminar on it, wherein we expect that many students, lawyers, judicial officers, or even academia will be producing certain papers, wherein I have got a comfort. I mean, I've got some vice chancellor is also going to join us for the webinar, not webinar, a session in the entire. We'll be dividing few sessions, and so we just after 12 days we have this event, and I have a request that you also join it, because it is another facet of political science, I must say, that is needed today. And we have seen very recently Uttar Pradesh and few other states have proposed few laws, and whether they have some true intention or not, that is separate. What I feel is that more and more, because of the elections which are down the line, such steps are taken. So we will certainly be having an excellent session on that day.
And moreover, I think that more than this population, explosion of population, this concentration of population could be taken care.
Exactly, that is very important.
There should not be concentrated, just like in Delhi. You have around 25 million people, which is the population of many countries in this world. And in NCR, you have around 60 million people. So this is really astonishing that, just like in South India, you have reasonable population. In Himachal Pradesh, you have reasonable population. In Jammu and Kashmir, you have reasonable population. So this concentration of population,
is also
to see that in which state this problem is there. Bengal, it is there. Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, this kind of problem is there. But in Rajasthan, you have very less population.
No, there are 2-3 physical topography, geographical locations are also important. You mentioned about Himachal Pradesh. You mentioned about Uttar Pradesh.
Single law for the whole country. That is the
problem. No, you can't make. That is what I was coming to that. Very rightly you have said. We can't have single law for this because of the diverse nature of the country.
Demography.
Exactly. But
okay, thank you.
I want to say one more thing.
Take leave, sir?
I'm sorry, one more thing I want to say, and then we will close the session today. Of course, there will be a vote of thank also. But prior to that, I want to say one thing to you, Vipinji, that last about a few years back, I had gone to the ministry, home ministry, to meet somebody, and a very senior bureaucrat was saying that when I said that look at the conditions of hospitals, education, all these places, we are really not good. And the main reason for that is our growing, rather blasting population. I said, you know what was the reply? He said, no, 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 no. Don't say so. Our population is our asset. I think what I was having, I didn't, said anything, but what I felt was it is not our language, it is language of Europe, America, and other countries who are eyeing India as a market. Certainly because of the pressure, today if you have to get this yourself vaccinated, you have to stand in a queue and many other things, So that's one thing. Yeah, Vipinji, your end final remark, and then I would request Simran.
See, actually, those people who say that human resource is our asset, yes, that is true, but this asset should not be, waiting and dying before the gates of hospital.
No, we don't want to be such rich.
Hospital, these, this human resource asset should not be struggling to get one time of food. This asset should not be made to commit suicide for petty 100 rupees or something like that. So if we have an asset, then we should know how to protect it also. And if we are not able to protect such asset, and we think that this is just for America and Europe, this is mere a market. India has always been considered mere a market to sell their products. Since the time when Britishers invaded India, that they always thought that this country is a market and we should use it. Why should we be goats? We should be treated like goats and sheep. That, yes,
cattle class.
We cattle, just like Shashi Tharoor says that I don't want to go, I always go in business class. I don't want to go with cattle class. So this should not be the spirit.
No, he never said so. He never said so. He said that the airlines are treated, that has become a cattle class only. That's what he said.
So, anyway, that's for whatever it is, that it should not be treated as cattle class. We should not be mere market. We should have a quality of life, not quantity of life.
Exactly.
We should not be a market for the big companies, big drug companies to sell their products.
Exactly.
Yes. So
it's a vast subject, I think.
Yes. So, that is why we should have a, population control mechanism.
Yes.
And, the size of India, just like Mongolia, is around the size of India, and it has just merely population of 8 millions.
Exactly.
So Australia is 3 times that of India, and it has population of around 21 million. Canada is 3 times of India, and it has population of only 36 million. Even China, which has a parallel population to us, is 3 times of India. So, just don't be lusty about our population, and we don't want to be market for others, and we don't want to be, जिसको कहते हैं बंधुआ मजदूर for others, bonded laborers.
But you don't
destroy our life just by opening BPO here. You have, destroyed the whole social life of India. There is no matrimonial, life for young people. They are working, they are lured with the big salary, 50,000 even after graduation, but they have to work from 9 to 5 in the morning in a BPO for Americans as a call center. So do we call it as human resource? Yes, certainly not. We want to live a quality life and, not quantity life. That is what I could say. And we will discuss on 12th of July more about this, whether we want to be a means for others or we want to be end in ourselves. So that is a big discussion. You must follow it. And
thank you. So I would request Simran for the vote of thanks, and so that we close the session.
Sure, sir. On behalf of the entire organizing team, it's my privilege to propose the vote of thanks on this occasion. I must say that my heart is filled with a lot of gratitude and respect for our distinguished guest speakers, that is Vipin sir and Amar sir, for not only sparing their invaluable time for us to grace this occasion, but also for enlightening us with the commendable talk on the subject. Thank you, sir, for clearing all our concepts and enhancing our understanding pertaining to this subject. I must say there couldn't have been any better speakers to take us through the remarkable 75 years of parliamentary democracy. And you all have put in your best efforts and has made this webinar an unforgettable one. Also, I would like to thank our very own Sanjay sir for being so dedicated towards this mission of propagation of legal knowledge. Thank you, sir, for being so supportive towards all your students and organizing such informative and amazing webinars for us.
Thank you very much, Simran. And I would like to thank, taking few names who are sitting in front of me: Dhant, Rajat, Jyotika, Devdatta, Juhi, Aluwalia, and next time we will see Juhi taking more part, and she is also a brilliant student. Megha is there, Sharad is there, Harshita, Pratham, Sonali, and my own Fagun, Kashish is there, and Harnoor, when she was very instrumental in making beautiful posters. She's the one who had made it. And Upasana, Ritvik, and Amisha is trying to join us, but she's somehow unable to join. But Digvijay, you, the strength of this house, and all the current and previous interns of BSK Legal, they have made this the event a great success. I think we will keep on doing and keep on spreading the legal awareness through various mediums, which and wherein all of you are the flag bearers, as I say. Thank you very much from core of my heart. Please keep doing something good for the country, for the people, and for yourself also. Thank you very much to all of you, and I would request Digvijay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And it's
thank
really,
you, Vipinji. It is indeed,
really a pleasure.
आपको सुनने में कैसा लगना है, बोलता हूँ आपके लिए कुछ कि आपको जब मैं सुनता हूँ तो ऐसा मन करता है कि इसका हम इवेंट को खत्म ना करें, because so much knowledge you have, and that I give you. All these students should take inspiration from Vipinji. I take it. Honestly, I'm telling you, I take it. The way he is so well read, and I really salute you, sir. Thank you very much for taking out time.
You, sir. It's your kindness. You have lots of kind words for me.
No. I know the way you are, your students. I have seen it myself. So I have no words to say. I mean, you are a real guiding force to thousands, if I may say so. The students and many others. Keep doing the good work. Keep doing the good work. Thank you very much, Vipinji. And thank you very much to my team, my strength who are sitting in front of me. Thank you very much. And many of them who are there in the YouTube channel. And all of you are very dynamic. I wish you all the very best for your careers. Thank you to all of you. And Digvijay, I would request you to please close the session.
Yes, sir.